Now I'm on.
Oh, now he's on.
Now he's on.
Well, here we are once again. I got a couple things to show you. This is a 1975 bass. And I started to put the frets in. We're going to put new frets in for this guy, Frank Schuback. We'll get to this in a minute. But what I really wanted to do is this, and there's a Frank Sinatra story behind this bass. We were getting ready to make some more necks here. This is mahogany. These boards all what was it, 3x3? Something like the 3x3 by
30.
30, yeah. And then we just cut them up, and Joe just ran them through the planer and cleaned them all up. And where's the line? Oh, you didn't do the line on this shit.
No, the line's right there.
Oh, it's on, sorry. Yeah. And Pete drew the line here for the angle for the headstock. This line here, okay? And that's what Pete, 14 degrees now, right? Now over the years I've changed it back and forth. I forgot what it was. And you were just getting ready to clean them up a little bit on the joiner. Let's show these people this joiner. This is kind of a new machine for me. Not that the joiner's new, but this particular joiner is. The one we had before we were playing around trying to keep it square all the time, and it just got crazy. And I said, well, why don't I spend some money and buy a new one? And this, maybe Pete, maybe you can explain that better, what that actually is. Because a regular joiner has either 2 or 3 blades that are straight blades that when it rotates, you take the wood across it and it trims it, you know. But this is, what do they call spiral?
It's a spiral cutter head.
Yeah.
So basically, it's 20-some blades on it, and as it spins, there's always contact on the wood.
Yeah.
So there's no chip up.
Yeah, that's the thing that's nice about it. You take a piece of wood like, just grab a piece of that curly maple right there, Joe. We won't cut it. But I just want to show people what. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, a piece of wood like this, curly maple, or any wood that has any kind of a fancy grain to it, going over a regular joiner with like the 2 or 3 blade cylinder would be, chances of it chipping up and leaving like little breaks in the wood would probably happen, and it has happened many times. With this kind of a cutter head, that's almost nothing. We take these things over all the time anymore. With most of the time, no chip up at all. Every once in a while, maybe a little bit here and there. So this is really a nice machine. I love it. And it works. And Pete, why don't you you're going to do that right now. You're going to clean up the sides, right? Yeah, Pete's just going to square up the edges. So whenever we cut the slot, with the slot for the truss rod to go down the middle of this whole thing. And you have to have one edge has to be really, really perfectly straight, and that's what that's going to do right now. And Pete, with Pete's expertise. Don't put your fingers there. And what the effect of all that was, oh, perfect, Pete. Oh, look at that, Joe. He's great. Look at that. You guys right on the money, man. No, show that. That's what we were trying to do, get this thing square. So when he lays it up against the jig for the slot, it won't be going all over the place, you know.
Also, for cutting out the angle of the headstock too.
Oh yeah.
Where this is square going through the saw, you'll have a nice straight line.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's go over here and talk about this just for a minute, okay? This bass This goes back, what did you say, Pete, 35?
35 years.
This was number 4, and back in those days, I didn't think I was going to be making as many bases, so the serial numbers were just, this is number 4 in 1975. There was no, anything else. And I know I made this on the shop on Court Street. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was there. Because I moved over to there from Manhattan, yeah, right about that time. And if this is number 4 in 1975, I would venture to say this is probably one of the first, maybe 25 bases, 22 bases, something like this. I didn't maybe even the first 20. This is very early base. And Frank Schuback still owns it. I made it for Frank, and Frank is not one of those famous bass players that you hear about and read about all the time, but I can assure you that Frank was a very good bass player and a good musician. And I know here in the shop we talk about those, what I call the old days, I guess, of being in New York and being in the studios and meeting all the great musicians that I've met over my life. It's just, my background is, I go on forever talking about all the people I met. And Frank was one of them. Frank was, like I said, he wasn't a famous guy. He was just one of those guys that was around doing record dates, doing commercials, doing this, doing that, producing, directing. He did a lot of different things. He worked, tons of stuff, as did a lot of those guys. Don Payne was another person that no one knows, but Don Payne was a guy who was another studio player, as was my friend Russell George. You've all heard me talk about Russell. Russell was always doing some sort of studio work. Anyway, when Frank brought this in, he said he thought the frets were, but I think the frets I put in last time, whenever that would maybe 10, 15 years ago, he thought they were a little high. He just didn't like the feel of the frets. So he's been playing it all along, but I don't even know what number wire that was, but it was a narrower wire and it was high, and it kind of felt awkward for him. Anyway, I said, well, we'll do that. We'll clean up the fingerboard a little bit. We had a little bit of wood up here that should have been taken out. Pete did that. We put new pearl dots in because the old dots just kind of fell out when we resanded the fingerboard. Actually, the original dots weren't even pearl. Used to get that stick, a plastic stick, like a cylinder, and you just make a hole and stick it in and cut it off. That's what was in here originally. So Frank, he went up a few. We put actually mother of pearl in. Actually, the side dots, that's what they are. That's that plastic stuff right there. Just a little smaller, and that's what was on the top. And the original bridge was one of those wooden bridges like I have one on the number 1 bass. Like this. That's what was originally on there. And many years ago, I don't know when we put that on, but the Badass Bridge was kind of popular, and I guess Frank wanted that, so we put that on. And it's, other than that, I mean, this bass is original tuning machines, original pickup. It's got that shallow pickup, just like the one that's in the first bass. And yeah, the leather headstock, the leather nameplate. I found them. I used to burn them right in the leather. Wish I could find leather like that again. I always liked that. And the nut we had, Joe just made a new nut for it, so we're gonna put that in too. The other thing about this base, everybody here, Pete and Joe, everybody was talking about what kind of wood this was on the fingerboard. It looks like Coca-Cola, they said. No, this is the real stuff. This is Brazilian rosewood. And as soon as you start sanding it, you can tell, right, Pete?
Oh yeah.
And even now, you know, when I was just running the saw through, the hand saw, to clean out the slots a little bit, you could tell even this stuff is hard. Like a lot of people say, you know, when you look at some of these people who advertise wood that's comparable to Brazilian rosewood, because I get Brazilian rosewood was the big thing, you know. Coca-Cola and all these other things that, you know, as substitutes for this. And they don't mention how hard this stuff was. It just didn't. Coca-Cola may look like this a little bit, but it's not nearly as hard. This stuff is really hard. And it's poisonous. It's hard, and it's poisonous.